Welcome everyone, Simon here from the Whales of Wall Street. We have a Hedera HBAR video for you guys today. Really interesting topic with some developments of partnerships that have been around for a couple of years, but only just recently announcing some significant developments within these and really bringing to life the African market and how this relates to the rest of the world and why Hedera is so important to this in the relation to the usage of USDC, the stablecoin. It's really interesting, loads of really big numbers here and a bit more of an understanding as to why this is such significant news, albeit that it's probably gone a bit under the radar. So guys, before we do that, let's make sure, if you haven't done so already, that you smash that subscribe button and please do like the video as well. It helps bring the channel to many more audiences around the world. Appreciate your support. Smashing towards 11,000 subscribers already. Really appreciate that. And welcome to those that are new. Of course, welcome back to those that have been with us for some time. Guys, let's go into this one. So Flutterwave, this is an African company that facilitates payments. We'll go into a bit more detail about them in a second. But these guys have done a full integration now with settlements relating to the USDC stablecoin using the Hedera blockchain. Now, the Hedera blockchain, as many people know, or if you don't, this is a good opportunity to learn a bit more about it. The opportunity for scalability on Hedera is absolutely significant, but more importantly, things like cross-border payments and certainly the aspect of finality of a transaction, in this case, suggested 3-second settlement times and low transaction fees. In fact, it mentions here about 0.0001 irrespective of how much USDC is being transferred. Now, when you look at this on a broader scale across the world, how long it can take for transactions to go through and be processed, and then the cost associations on top of that in terms of fees, and it makes the economy slow down slightly, albeit it still feels and looks fast in the grand scheme of things. The fact of the matter is the utilization of blockchain technology, in particular things like Hedera, can really kick in and start to be utilized properly to allow this absolutely giant solution to encourage faster payments and cheaper payments as well. So we automatically open up a massive opportunity worldwide with this. And what's really interesting about Flutterwave is it currently operates within 34 countries. That's a mixed majority of them in Africa. But then, of course, they conclude around the world as well and starting to build further beyond that, even more so than ever before. There's over 900,000 users at this current moment in time. This number, by the way, is from last year. I can't seem to find any detail of more recent statistics relating to the newer figure. But of course, with the adaptation of regulation and law going through here in the UK and worldwide at this moment in time, more and more people are going through that KYC aspect, the know your customer application of being able to create your own accounts and be able to transfer money back and forth. Now, of course, as a big part of this regulation theory and the aspiration of the travel rule, which people may or may not have heard of, this is very orientated around the tracking and traceability of money being transferred, particularly through crypto asset means, and that ability to remove criminal activity, fraudulent money laundering, etc., etc. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because of these kind of articles. Now, there's always been an adaptation around crypto assets where there's been money laundering and perhaps the dark web or the dark market, as it were. But the introduction of KYC as a formulation of basically knowing who your customer is and allowing them to sign up with the use of identification and proving who they are, and therefore being able to use the systems that are in front of us, we can start eliminating all these things. Now, I found this absolutely staggering. So this is just finances in general. Okay, so immigrants sent a record amount of money home to sub-Saharan African countries in 2017. Now, this data, of course, being around about 6 years old, the numbers are going to be even bigger. I can't find any data that is showcasing how much more that has been since those times. But look at this, $41 billion in 2017 was sent back and forth. Now, how was this sent back? We don't really know the definitions of this. Was it cash? Was it card? Was it wired? I doubt much of it at that time was crypto related, but this definitely is something that's being seen more and more. So we've already got an initiation in our minds of how much monetary value minimum, and this is, by the way, just from the US to Africa and probably vice versa, how much money we are dealing with here. And I could anticipate an obscene amount of money when we incorporate other countries around the world back and forth. It's not just Africa I'm talking about here, but the reason this is the topic is because of Flutterwave coming from Africa and being able to facilitate payments within Africa and externally between certain countries around the world. So you've already got that opportunity where people go abroad and they go and work. And there's an argument there has always been an argument, where is the money legally going back and forth? But as I said, with all these compliance issues, these compliance solutions, and now more recently the acts and laws going through many parliamentary levels and approval systems around the world, it starts to eradicate that thing. And what's really important for me personally is equality and the ability to potentially make those that were unbankable, which there's over 2 billion people around the world that are unbankable, into bankable people, allowing them to become part of society. There were reasons why they haven't, and there's so many variables to that. Whether they're right or wrong is totally another conversation and not really down to any of my opinions or thoughts. But my main point is that there's more and more people that can come into the system and have a fairer way of making payments or sending money back home if needed. Because at the end of the day, some people have moved out of the countries for better opportunities potentially, but still need to send money back to their homes and their families. And I think it's a really interesting topic. And it kind of opened the doors in my mind about the power and the magnitude of this. Now, Flutterwave, as I said, last year saying that it has 900,000 users. It's actually used as well by over 1 million businesses worldwide. There's a number of them mentioned here. I think most of you know Uber, probably Microsoft, Wise in there. Others I don't really know too much about, but it's really fascinating. And this accommodates so many different assets as well. But the main thing for me personally is the USD aspect. We've already got partnership and integrations here with bank transfers, Visa, etc., bank accounts. I know there's some Swift application in there as well. There's the API application in the sense that it can be utilized by a multitude of different companies and platforms, adding on the Flutterwave payment system as a value-added service and something that an end user probably wouldn't even know they're using, but it's just facilitating the payment. And this doesn't just operate this conversation around passing money back and forth between people. It also adds another layer to businesses, particularly perhaps in Africa, that can now deal a lot more with exportation, thus improving their economy and their livelihoods. And I think this is absolutely brilliant. And USDC as a stablecoin, of course, removes all that volatility of a crypto asset in general. And we know that stablecoins are that 1-to-1 ratio. They can be applied to other stablecoins or other remittance systems and other remittance finance application across the world. So converting that to another fiat currency of another country is simple as anything. And with Hedera, building that technology of the USD platform, or USDC, platform in the background. There's loads of others, of course. We know the partnership with Hedera and Circle is a prime example here, but utilizing the Hedera network and other chains do it as well, no doubt about it. But they do boast significant attributes here, guys. And this is where it becomes really important when we talk about the growth of economies, the equality, and the opening up to bank as many people as possible, and have that tracking traceability, the utilization of blockchain for processing, validating, removing potential bad activity. It really opens the world up to a new level of business and a new level of potential livelihood. And it's a really exciting time in my mind, to be honest. Now, this again is information from 2 years ago. They're mentioning here, and I don't know whether this is from 2017 or not, but since its inception, so I'm assuming from 2 years ago, over 200 million transactions valued at over $16 billion across 34 countries. And I can imagine the customer number and those transaction numbers are significantly higher from 2 years ago. The valuation of this company is absolutely huge also. But it's really, really enticing a new ecosystem. And the news that came out recently with this Flutterwave integration with Hedera being an official scenario, there was also some information coming out about the Tempo finance payment systems that come out of France, who operate predominantly a lot of the European countries' financial aspects or payment initiations. Linking all these companies together makes a gigantic ecosystem and puts a stamp on why stablecoins will be used more and more over time. And then ultimately, us as a question, well, okay, yes, some people could trade USDCs, is pegged to certain fiats, etc. But outside of that, we can now answer more questions about, right, what chains are allowing minting or creation of USDC? We can now start seeing more utilization about USDC and the other stable coins that are in existence around the world, and start identifying the actual gain opportunity here, or at least the potential of the technological advancement and the platforms that have been built here. That's why I'm quite excited. That's why I've been talking about stable coins for a long time, and particularly with the events that I go to, like the Digital Pound Foundation, where we've got the likes of Circle in there, USDC minting technology partners there as well, of course the Bank of England, etc., etc. Stable coins is a prominent topic, and as I said, yes, you can potentially invest in companies that make USDC or mint them, but ultimately you can also invest, as we know, with the tokenization, for example with Hedera, with the HBAR token that operates the blockchains that we need these tokens to use to be able to facilitate development and progression of the technologies and the platforms themselves, and ultimately create and further that development of the minting of these stablecoins also. And this is just a very small element of what Hedera is capable of. But as I said, not directly, but because Hedera is part of that big ecosystem in some big capacity and is operating, utilizing companies and adding companies like Flutterwave, who are working with a significant amount of companies worldwide already, this is where the numbers become big and the utilization of the chain becomes bigger, and thus ultimately the requirement for the token gets bigger as well as time goes by. So hopefully this reminisces in your minds as a bit of a dot connection here, but also a bit more of an understanding as to why these ecosystem partnerships are very important, and particularly the right ones, and then understanding the economies and the opportunities within these different regions. Because we know even like a few years ago when they opened up the trades barriers, or they removed the trade barriers in Africa, allowing insider trading, not insider trading as in fraudulent trading. I'm talking about internally of Africa, opening up the barriers for the economy to thrive, for people to thrive finally over these many decades of being not being able to. So there's loads of really positive things out of here, and as a holder of HBAR and have a big understanding of what the Hedera hash graph is capable of from a technological perspective, now seeing these kind of participations is really exciting. And yes, you may not see the fruition of this right now, and people will probably still question the price point of Hedera, but for me personally, I'm happy with the price point of Hedera because it means I can buy and accumulate more at lower prices, because we know what's coming. The Hedera hash graph, based on the director cyclic graph technicality, is absolutely huge. And I think many out there maybe will find this information interesting and start building their own blocks in their minds as to, okay, I get this, understand this, and start researching more, as I said, about what exactly these ecosystem partners are doing. Remember, Hedera is also run by a huge governance, a massive amount of companies on the council, Google, IBM, etc., to name a few. There's no doubt in my mind what's going on here, and it's fantastic to see this. I'm really excited. So Flutterwave will be integrating Circle's USDC for a partnership with Hedera. Absolutely fascinating and exciting times ahead, and I'm really looking forward to the development of this and to see these user numbers grow, and ultimately how that will affect the HBAR token. I wish that's a great time, guys, to jump into the chart of HBAR and see where we are price point wise, and some of the opportunities that may come towards our way in the near future in the charts. So at the moment, currently trading around 4.7 cents. Again, as I said, this is a great bite point for me. There's many circles on here, but there's a reason behind all of these from previous videos. We were mentioning the areas of support and resistance and key areas to think about and look out for. So as you can see, in more recent times, dropping itself down to one of these more macro levels here, looking towards that 4.6 cent mark, which we saw back here in the 11th of September, and something we also saw back here on the 5th of July, respectively, and something that we messed around with back in June as well. That, of course, created support. We had an upward trend with some great Hedera announcements at the time, which we covered on this channel, a multitude of areas. And now we've had this fluctuating pattern downwards, and it's great times to look at potential accumulation levels. Not financial advice, but certainly something that I'm very interested in personally. So at this moment in time, I look at these like manual opportunities around this current 4.5, 4.6 area, with the anticipation that we could still see some lower entry points. Arguably, there is still an opportunity to hit back down at that 4 cent on the nose mark. Why? Because if we look at the historic data of Hedera, with the exception of the massive up run in 2021, the actual traction here back in 2020 was showing these lower regions of around 3.5 to 4 cents. And in my mind, I was thinking, well, okay, it's got a lot more confidence and a lot more holders, which is why it's floating so well where it is right now. But there is always the opportunity in the sense that even if it's one day, just one day blast down could happen for sure in these kind of markets and areas of crypto assets. We could see potentially a big drop off back down to that 3.5 cent area. So I do have buy orders at around 3.8 cents, I think it is. I have to check that on the exchange. But for sure, I then convert mine across over to the ledger to keep them on my private keys. For sure, that is always a good thing to do. But yes, there are opportunities. Certainly at these lower regions around 4.5, and I think we'll see a bit of sideways movements as time goes by because we are in the bear market, the winter market. So there's some areas of opportunity. I will draw another circle just to reiterate this point that we could see that 4 cent entry point at some point in time, maybe. And if we look at that previous point there, and based on historic data, this is a great area of interest for me still at this sort of 3 point. I think I said 3.8. It's just above the fib level, which is what I always tend to do, just to avoid those sort of rounded numbers, as it were. That's of great interest to me. In terms of the selling opportunities on the way up, we'll do that as we see those opportunities arise. But for me, I'm an accumulator of Hedera. I'm waiting for bigger price points for Hedera. Look at this all-time high back here, guys. Absolutely phenomenal. Hitting 57 cents. So you can imagine from this current point that we see today at this 4.7 cents area, where we could get to on those higher regions. So if I just draw in this now, let's go to that 4.7-ish. It's around about there. To that point is about 1,000%, guys. In the next bull run, and I've always anticipated that Hedera would hit maybe a $3 to $5 mark in the next bull run. I still believe that significantly. If we were to take even just to that next fib level up at 93 cents, that's nearly 2,000 upward trend. If we could get to at least 130 potentially, just under the next level of the longer term fib levels, it's 2,700%. That's a huge gain opportunity from the current price point. So I've always said along the way, anything under 10 cents or even 15 cents of Hedera to accumulate is an absolute steal, in my opinion. Not financial advice, but definitely based on historic trend and where we know Hedera is going in the next few years, it's absolutely phenomenal. Another quick orientation around indicators just for the current price point where we are in this moment in time is the fact that on the 14-day RSI at the bottom left here are at 39 and the 28 days showing 43. These are really good bite point areas for me personally. I do always look for that sort of 40 to 42 region on a 14-day to accumulate. As I said, this is more about short-term trading if you're looking at these indicators, but in generalization, it shows me good opportunities in various areas of dates and timeframes to get Hedera at lower points, the best lower points possible without the risk of reduction even further. And that number is very much in the sense of 40%. If it was any higher at 50, 60%, of course, you've got a more opportunity of having it going higher and less, and then potentially FOMOing and etc. rather than the other way around of going, okay, yes, it could come down lower, but if I'm DCAing my strategy correctly, I can obtain HBAR at various lower levels and get the most for my money. Ultimately, that's what I want to do from the gains perspective. Last few pointers here, performance indicators on the right-hand side, not looking great on the weekly and the monthly. Understandable, this is the market that we're in, guys. There's things going on around the world as always still. The crypto market is still where it is. I truly believe by 2024, the mid of 2024 into 2025, we will see significant uprise. I believe the narratives distinctly will be around CBDCs, AI, IoT, etc., and the whole entire utilization of crypto becoming reality. And we see that now with the compliance regulations coming through, the laws coming through, and these partnerships and ecosystems continue to build in a progressive, exciting way, guys. This is an exciting time for sure. Thank you for watching this video. We will see you in the next Hedera update. Take care. Bye-bye.